circulating to the mayor's office and council, as we discussed. And then near West Side mural, as it says in the agenda, the RFQ closes August 19th. So that is next Friday, I believe. Sorry, next Thursday, rather. In the public art meeting, we also discussed a couple of folks that could be part of the review process for that outside of commissioners. It sounds like the full public art committee is game to participate in that review. But we actually have Natalie, who sort of the West Side community leader on this proposal. Sean suggested Mallory, who works with the city, who could be a good addition here. And we could also reach out to the Banneker for a suggestion. Sean, one bit of follow-up. Would you mind, even though I know Mallory, I don't think I have her city email. Would you mind connecting me on email?
Absolutely.
And I can give her the rundown there.
Nick, who could you say their last names and what are they again? Natalie and
yeah, what is Natalie Galvin? She is the citizen who presented to us previously in commission meetings, and I believe took the lead on the neighborhood grants submission for this. So she's been sort of the citizen leader on this. And then Mallory's last name is Rickball. Is that correct, Sean?
Yes.
Yeah, I know who that is.
Cool.
What's her position at the city?
What is her title? It's like
she's the bike ped coordinator. Okay. Bike and pedestrian coordinator, Sam.
Cool. So yeah, that was a good suggestion from Sean. Not only she's a city employee who I think, probably is sympathetic and interested to the work that the commission does, but with her actual job, and that these are traffic calmers. It's a good cross section of stuff that she works on as well. So yeah, Sean, you can make that intro happen. And then
I'll do the same for Banneker too.
Cool.
So you have Eric's contact information.
That would be great. And so once that closes next Thursday, just remind me, should we coordinate with Alex as far as getting access to all the submissions and sort of prepping a review sheet for that? I mean, we can put that sheet together. I imagine we won't have as many applicants as we've had on some calls, so I don't mind taking the first run of that, sort of in place of what you've done in the past, Sean.
Yeah, what I'll do.
Helen can help. Sorry.
Yeah, Helen doesn't technically start till the 23rd for SPIA or whatnot. So what I can do is I'll upload everything to a Google folder like we have before in the past, and I'll start to kind of work on a spreadsheet. Nick, we can tag team that starting next week once we know kind of. I would imagine this is going to be locally leaning. I would hope that it's I've sent it out to the artist database that has about 120 folks signed up for it. That's been on our page, and then I've kind of shared it out. So and it's been listed on our RFP page. So I would imagine probably 10 to 15 responses. That's usually on the local calls like this. That's usually the number of recipients we get or applicants we get. So my gut feeling is leading towards that kind of pool of applicants.
Cool. Well, we'll sort of leave it with you, and then I don't know what exactly your capacity looks like while you're in this sort of interim support phase, but yeah, just feel free to hand it off whenever it feels right, and we're happy to pick it up from there. Then 1% project updates. Sean, I'm going to run through what we discussed in our last meeting, but stop me if there's any revisions to this. 4th Street Garage installation planned to start September 20th, finishing October 8th. Is that still on track? Cool. And so the idea there is there's a plan with the parking department to coordinate installations with temporary closures to the entrance as needed. So the work can happen during the day rather than overnight, which is obviously ideal for work-life balance and safety issues of the people doing the installation. And so we, assuming we stay on track for that and the project finishes October 8th, we would aim for a dedication not too long after, within the month of October. Switchyard Park. I know that we're waiting on one of the components to arrive to complete this. Sean, did that arrive such that we're still on track for like a late August installation, or is that still up in the air?
Yeah, it's still up in the air. So they've gotten one of 2 components, so they're waiting on the second one. So I've sent out another email requesting confirmation on that. So I will report back to the group in an email if anything changes. But yeah, August 23rd is our prospective date of completion at the moment, or the week of August 23rd.
Cool. And then once that is complete, we will figure out the timing on a dedication for that project, which we will be working heavily with the Parks Department as the host for that. We'll need to review details for a dedication plaque as part of that. And Liz Mitchell's group has been commissioned to do a 20-30 minute performance piece as part of that dedication. So that will be the core component of that. Trades Garage is moving along, and it sounds like installation will happen the last week of October. Each tower will be individually shut down for the installation in the space. And then once that is locked in, we will look to do a dedication in November. So we have probably, if all goes to plan, we're going to have 3 dedications between September, October, and November, perhaps one a month, thereabouts. So I will be, I think once we have like a clear timeline on some of those, I'll be following up with members of the Public Art Committee to get sort of a co-chair, co-lead on each of those. And then with the Stefan Reese piece, oh, yep, Sean's showing, this is the Trades Garage Esteban sample. And Sean, this is like the smallest panel of the ones being created, right?
Correct. So this is yeah, these are the smaller. So the largest will double in size. So it'll be 8 tiles tall and 6 wide. But you can start to see the kind of LED spectrum of color is really, really impressive. This is also not painted yet, so there'll be more stark contrast between the 3D printed and or the kind of modeled depth of each tile. But this is a pretty exciting development. I mean, the color spectrum, it looks like a digital render. It doesn't look real to me, which I think is pretty amazing. But anyways, I wasn't sure who had seen this. So yeah, just FYI, sorry, Nick, not to interrupt real quick, but just so everybody knows, I've asked the artists to start tagging the Bloomington Art Commission. I know that Project One and Esteban have been really good about tagging the City of Bloomington account. So that's just something to keep in mind. I know I've seen some reshares of the Project One piece and Esteban's piece, but I'll try to make sure that we just hold them a little more accountable to tagging us, either in the description comment, but I know both artists teams for both Project One 4th Street and this piece have been pretty active on social media. So that's just something for other commissioners to keep in mind. If you want to get regular updates, that's kind of the best place to see these kind of updates.
Yeah, I've been kind of chasing them down so that I can put them on our stories, but they definitely do not tag us. Sam?
A question, just about the actual piece there from Esteban. Like, he definitely took artistic license in like reinterpreting all the submissions, right? Like, did people know that going in? Like, are they expecting to see their exact panel, or did they know that he'd kind of clean them up?
Yeah, I think it was part of the conversation about translating from a drawing to a 3-dimensional image, and so we tried to be pretty clear about that. So he did his best to kind of interpret the drawings as best they can. We had a conversation offline about how he had a difficult time understanding and interpreting some of the drawings, just like in terms. So yeah, he of course took artistic liberty, but I think that they still embody most of what people submitted. And we try to be pretty clear about that, but if we get any of that feedback, that's good to know.
Yeah, I'll say that in the one online session that I sat in on, and then in person at the Trades Garage ribbon cutting where Esteban was set up, and we had a lot of people doing some sketches in person while they were there. Esteban did have like a sample, to sort of show people like the scale of the tiles and things like that. And he was pretty good about explaining to people, it's like, all right, if you draw a dog, it's like not necessarily going to come out looking like a dog, or even necessarily like a Minecraft dog. You know what I mean? Like it's going to end up looking a little bit different. But I think that like, it's entirely possible we might have like some little kids that submitted stuff that's like, wait a minute, where's my, and it'll be a little bit more difficult for them to, sort of like pin down what's theirs, but I think that Esteban did about as good a job as I think as you can, trying to give people a heads up and point them to, the sample that he had and what it would end up sort of looking like. So yeah, hopefully that lands well with everyone. It helps that overall the piece looks really good. And I think once it's actually up in the space and, visible to the public, I think that'll be great. And so, someone made the good suggestion in our meeting that, perhaps the dedication for that, we try to time it, to be sort of close to dusk, so that we can kind of get the, some of the effect of the light and give people an idea how it'll really look. So yeah, I'm excited about it. Any other questions about 4th Street Switchyard or Trades Garage?
Does anybody have any suggestions of what could be a part of those dedications? And if not, maybe we can all put on our thinking hats and think about it before the next meeting. Just if we can bring other disciplines, other groups into it, I think there's some value to that.
Yeah, I would say that Switchyard is probably the one that's like in the best shape as far as that's concerned. But I think that the 2 garages in particular were kind of, I think that at least with Esteban's piece, there's a really strong concept. And there's already, community participation aspect of it. So we're at a little better starting point there. I think 4th Street in particular, I would really love ideas, the process for that one was different, in that we didn't, go through, the full like RFQ review submissions, get public feedback sort of thing. We had to move relatively quickly to get it integrated into the design of the project, and sort of maximize the visibility of it. And so that's probably the one where I think telling a good story, and trying to establish community buy-in from the get-go is probably most important. So I would love any suggestions.
I mean, it would be great if we could activate some of the windows in different levels of the parking lot and stuff like that, either with dance or spoken word or even music, something just to bring awareness to the different areas and to amplify its magnitude.
Yeah, I think we could have some conversations, Nick. It might be good to maybe reach out to like Papa Stafford and see about like contemporary dance opportunities with students, and maybe working out. It probably wouldn't align with the dedication, but like maybe in the spring, right? As a kind of like contributing kind of piece post dedication. And then I think this is something to keep in mind that I just realized too. Since we own the Waldron, there is that little landing area that is considered like the Waldron Plaza that Ivy Tech did, that actually has it's like a half moon. It's supposed to be technically an amphitheater is how they originally pitched it. And I know that like Craig Brenner has had a live piano out there. So I think that kind of, since we own the building now, that kind of location lends itself naturally to take in the full view. So that might be a way of thinking about, we are, obviously doing the capital improvements to the building, so we wouldn't necessarily have access to the Waldron per se, but for an outdoor dedication with maybe some kind of live music component, that naturally lends itself to that. So just to plant those seeds and start to think as a commission how to activate that.
Yeah, there actually may be an opportunity, think about the location, especially if you're talking about live music, to collaborate with WFHB on something.
Yeah, or even like DSO, which has, there's like 70 of them and they're always looking for ways to perform. That's loud enough, given the space, to have a large group.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, we could, yes, like combine like a local performance element, with, maybe there's a WFHB broadcast, maybe it gets recorded for like a local live, session, that sort of thing.
That'd be great.
That gets them talking about it as well. Cool. Well, yeah, that's good. But, give that some thought. Any other suggestions, either adding to that or different ideas, or, specific suggestions working within what we just talked about? I'm all ears.
I just have a quick, will this correspond with the actual opening of the garage to the public?
No, the garage is slated to be open on August 23rd. Because of COVID and a variety of different kind of timeframes, the art piece couldn't hit that timeline. It just is it's a very kind of complicated do-si-do with contractors and wanting other people that are not technically employees of a particular contractor to have access to the facilities. And then also COVID delays, equipment delays, those kinds of things caused a little bit of issue with the art. We tried our best to align that. And because we've never done an integration project of this scale or scope before, It just didn't happen, which is not, it's not really the end of the world, because similar to the trades garage with Esteban's piece, it's not like inherently functional to the use of the building. It just is, I mean, actually there's argument for the design of the public art piece contributing to the design of the building. So it just is unfortunate, but it's only a 4-week gap. And I think as long as, you can kind of see the building now, I think people can live with it for the time being, as long as they know it's kind of coming, and it's been both on the plan commissions, all the renders have been pretty accurate or pretty close to what it would look like. So as long as we can tell people to be patient, that's the misalignment there.
Sean, to that end, is there a ribbon cutting planned for the garage itself in the next couple of weeks?
I normally have a garage meeting on Thursdays, so we are getting close to that planning, if that's going to happen. So I will know more tomorrow. There's always these kind of critical punch list items like elevator inspections and fire inspections. Those have not yet happened, and that's usually like the triggering point of when you can open a building. So as soon as I know, I will let you all know, so that we can at least have some kind of either involvement in that, or at least have some poster boards out about the artwork coming. I just don't want to cause, Alex has been very sensitive to this and has been very concerned about the kind of timing delay. And so, you know, just in terms of public perception, those kinds of things. So I'll make sure that you all are kept in the loop. And I should know more tomorrow if we're going to hit that deadline.
Cool, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I think if it wouldn't be the same as what we did with the trades garage, you know, I wouldn't necessarily expect, say, like Project One to be there in person like Esteban was. You know, part of the reason Esteban was there was he wanted to use that opportunity to like capture some people to submit more tile designs. We're still trying to get to the finish line on that. But yeah, I think if it was like getting some of the renders on poster board, or if, you know, like Project One even had like a small sample, you know, something like that, like whatever makes sense. I think if there's some sort of visual, and then, you know, whoever's doing the speaking there, you know, if Alex is on the docket, great. I think he would naturally cover it. But if he's not on the docket, maybe making sure that, you know, one of the speakers like points to it overtly. That way, you know, if there is a, you know, Herald Times write-up or write-up from the Bloomingtonian or something like that, you know, at least those people doing the reporting will have heard it.
Yeah, that's a good point, Nick. They do have a 1% mock-up, which is pretty impressive. So it's like you know, they shared it on their Instagram. So I'll inquire about that from Adam. Actually, I'll go ahead and do that this week when I have my meeting with them.
Amazing.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I just the last thing I was going to say is just the Stephen Reese Trades Gateway piece. It's still kind of TBD, but we probably won't see the installation on that until late this year, early 2022.
Do you have anything to add there, Sean?
No, I would. This is. I just want to encourage the commission to think big about these dedications. You all can make it what you want, right? We do have some funding available, like we're commissioning Liz Mitchell. So you know, these are big projects. These are big investments to the arts and to the community in general. So think about these dedications and really maybe consider ways in which we can involve different artists in that conversation and different kind of, you know, I think that's why we've started to set aside some funding for these dedications to contribute to the performing arts and those kinds of things. I think we can do some really unique things. And it doesn't have to be as traditional as just a ribbon cutting, right? We at the Art Commission can do a little bit of, you know, new and challenging things. So I think that's just something to maybe ferment on or you know, talk about with some other kind of key constituents in the community too. Like I mentioned, Bob Stafford in terms of dance is a great connection. They love doing kind of site specific work. Tyler was involved in a dance performance that happened at Switchard Park. So there is some pretty interesting things I think we can kind of foster in the community that would be good. And you know, the WFHB connection is really great, as well as BSO, right? It would be a perfect opportunity for that kind of collaboration. So I just want us to think a little bit harder about that. That's all.
Perfect. Any final questions regarding public art for Nick or Sean? All right, and then let's move on to grants. There's a lot to unload. Lots of updates, Essence.
Yeah, I've got a list here, but if I miss anything, Brian or Sean, please just pitch in or cut in, that's fine. So we had a meeting with Jane from the city this past week, and we did decide to collaborate with BUEA in the fall for the grant cycle. So combined, we'll be distributing 100,000. A huge pot, 40K will be dedicated to organizations and businesses within the zone. Be dedicated to the emerging artist grants. If you remember that proposal that Quentin wrote up earlier in this year, we're gonna go ahead and launch that. and of course the traditional or the usual operational grants and project grants that we host as BAC. The cycle will be, the applications will open September 3rd, which is a Friday, and they'll close a month after on October 1st. And with that window, we're hoping that we can have, we're pretty confident that we can have the contract signed with all of the recipients before the end of December so that our own deadlines are met. I want to make a correction. I have been saying that the grants meetings are on the second Friday. I don't know where I got that from, but it's the third Fridays. I made the mistake a couple of times in the past week or so. So just for anybody who may have been confused about that in the grants, on the grants committee, third Friday. So our next meeting is August 20th at noon. Yes, Bryony.
I just want to take this moment to interrupt that.
I can't hear you. Is that just me?
Can you hear me? Okay. I just want to take a moment there and say that Essence really needs help from additional commissioners to join the grants committee.
I still can't hear you, Bryony. I think it's something I need to fix with my thing.
Okay.
But I assume you're saying something important.
So if anybody has bandwidth to help with grants, please do so. She is a little overstretched.
Yeah, I presented to the BUEA. They were very happy with the merged applicant pool. So there's a couple different things we'll just have to keep in mind. Some geographic restrictions of funding, obviously, some eligibility requirements that will move. But Jane was happy as the staff liaison for the BUEA. And I think as we move in with my staff transition, we'll try to shore it up so that there is some kind of back end frameworks so that I think it's just an easier funnel to process. I know it seems like a pretty daunting applicant pool or a daunting amount of money, but at the same time, I think organizations are ready. So we're working through all that. And so if any kind of extra set of eyes is more than welcome on this process. And the BUEA did not immediately step forward with a board representation, but they did ask for some kind of, either zone resident or business involved. So we will just kind of be careful and mindful of that as maybe one of our members of the public on the review panel being either a zone resident or zone business. And Jane's very keen on that as well. So that's kind of my update from the BUEA board meeting from today. They were very excited. They're very appreciative of all the BAC's work in this. They know it's a lot of work reviewing grant applications. And so to have it as a one funnel point for the fall this year makes total sense. So.
Okay, I can hear everybody again. Sorry about that.
No worries, since I was just asking folks to help out with grants if they have the bandwidth.
Awesome, yeah.
And
so,
sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, this is Liz speaking. My summer contract in Santa Fe is over, and I will be back in Bloomington next week, and I'm happy to help out in any way I can. Sorry for being gone so long. Anyway.
Awesome, thank you. Yes, Babette.
Yeah, you faded out when you were saying, you said that in terms of the distribution, it's $100,000 and
yes.
That 40,000, and that's when I lost you.
Okay, 40,000 will be dedicated to businesses and nonprofits that are within the BUEA zone. So there's a specific map that they have to honor when distributing funds. And then the other 60K, that's up to us. It's not limited to that BUEA zone. And 10K specifically, we hope to disperse just for the emerging artist grants, with about 500 being the amount for each applicant or recipient. But we'll talk some more about this in the we'll
In the
talk
next
about this
meeting.
more in the meeting, right? And again, that meeting, the next meeting that we have specifically for grants committee is August 20th at noon, the third Fridays.
Do
And I know that
do you have a copy of the BUEA map?
I don't, but
I
sure we
can get it
can
to
find
you,
it.
Babette. Oh,
I,
there it is.
Okay.
I anticipate that question. I just put it in the chat.
Thanks, Nick. Okay,
Yeah, and just Sean has gone ahead and created the 3 Google forms basically for the 3 categories. And we've started to review all of the questions, make sure everything's clear and looking for repetition and things like that. So those will be ready soon, I'm pretty sure. They're very tight, so we're close.
as a heads up for the,
Sean, what was your bit at the end there about the BUA? It's excited, blah blah blah, but they asked that businesses be involved. Could you just clarify that one time?
Members of the public to help review
Members
the
of the
grants.
public, do they have to be on the BUEA zone or anything?
Yeah,
They would, if there's not going to be a board member that steps forward, they would like by proxy somebody that's impacted by the zone. So like previously, not to call out this person that's on the call, but like Chaz Moninger is a zone resident and has reviewed as when we've had it as a separate zone arts grant. So this is kind of a hybrid year, kind of like what we did in early COVID in 2020, where we combined them again. We are doing that again just because A, staff capacity, B, arts organizations asked us to streamline as much as we could as well. So that's why it didn't make sense to have 2 separate grant cycles, both the BUEA and the BAC, like within 4 weeks of each other. The arts organizations just don't have the capacity for that. So what we're doing is like funneling it all together. And since we're doing that, that means our review panel has to be kind of a hybrid review panel, which would require BUEA representation since it's their dollars that are funding the program, BAC because you all are funding the program. And then based off of a report we got in 2017 now, to make sure that we're not having institutional bias, it requires or recommends at least 2 members of the public. So that's kind of how we kind of open it up. And this is a great way to get new recruiting for the BAC or the BUEA itself, but also to kind of change up who's on the review panel so that we don't have this. I think historically the BAC was criticized for this, that it historically funded the same organizations over and over again. There's kind of this cultural bias towards certain organizations.
I wanted to give an idea of what we'll be working on at that meeting on August 20th, because a lot of decisions were made without the rest of the committee. So as mentioned, we will compile a list of community members, potential people to recruit for the grants panel, like we were just talking about here. So anybody who's on the grants committee, bring names of people that you think would be interested in contributing. We'll continue to polish the fall grants applications, largely focusing on the emerging artist grant, because that's where we need the most work. It's our first draft, or the first time that we're launching it. So even if it's not the first draft, we just want some more eyes there. And then as a note, Bryony emailed the current grants committee some preliminary notes on the applications as they stand. And she asked for volunteers to work on specific sections of the Emerging Artist Grant. So again, if you're on the grants committee, take a look at that email and help out where you can. And
those sections are bolded and red. You
red.
won't miss them, so you can skip everything else
Roll
and
down.
focus on those red ones.
Yeah, thank you for doing that, Brian.
Thank you.
Yeah. And if you can work on that before our next meeting, we can spend that time actually discussing and like polishing what we've made instead of drafting in the meeting. So that'd be great. Thanks, everybody. And then a couple of things that I want to say. I think it may be clear already, but I wanted to thank Babette for pitching in on the grants committee when we sent out that message asking for some help. But again, anybody else who has the bandwidth, as Brian said, you can definitely pitch in. And then one last note, this might be stressful to hear, but I have class on Wednesdays until 5:30, September through November. I'll talk with Bryony about how to like handle that overlap, but I just wanted that FYI. I wanted you all to know that.
No worries. That's the
Okay.
first thing. You don't worry about it. Okay,
All
you
right.
can always talk grants at the very end. And if you can join us, great. And if not, I will have an update ahead of time from you and I will share the update.
Lovely.
And you and I will communicate. Don't worry.
I
It's
appreciate
not the
it.
first time that has happened and it's not
Right.
going to be the last time. Do not
Okay.
stress.
All right. Did I miss anything or are there any questions I need to answer?
All right. Well, if there are no more grants questions, let's go ahead and get a Waldron update from Sean.
Yeah, the big news is that the RFQ for third-party management closes on Friday. So the city's anticipating that. We are having regular meetings with our facilities department, Public Works, who is kind of the overseer of the building. I think that this week at the Board of Public Works, or it might have been last week, the RFQ went out for HVAC services. For upgrades for those building. That was kind of one of the bigger commitments was, the outdated kind of HVAC capacity, but also, there's a lot of concern about ventilation with COVID. So there's that work taking place coinciding with the third-party management of the RFQ. So we're kind of trying to do our punch list. And then there's a variety of other things that need to be taken care of, some tuck pointing exterior wise, and then also some windows, original wood frame windows need a lot of work. So our facilities team is on it. We meet bi-weekly and have been doing that to kind of make sure that we are abiding by our January 3rd date for opening. We've also started to get a bunch of inquiries about venue rental of the facility. So we are penciling in dates. They're not guaranteed right now. Cardinal and Stages and Jewish Theater Bloomington, all of these groups are trying to get out of, obviously, the pandemic. So we're trying to do our best to accommodate that. But since we don't know if the city or a third-party group will be managing it, we can't guarantee it, but we are kind of taking those. So if you get groups that are curious about that, send them my way and I'll make sure to be able to communicate with them and get their dates at least marked down or requests put in. So that's really it on the Waldron.
Any questions? How long do you think it will take to review the management proposals?
Depends on how many we get, and it will definitely take a few weeks. We want to make sure we're doing our due diligence at minimum a few weeks.
Yeah, well, a few weeks I think is very reasonable. I'm
yeah.
wondering if there's like a 3-month window or.
No, I think the mayor is very, very committed to this and is very, very like this is a top priority in the time and where we are. So I think it's once we know what we know, it'll be easier. But yeah, it's going to take us a little bit of time to review and review pro formas. It was pretty robust RFQ request for qualifications. So we want to make sure that we have a thorough process for review in place.
And is there any update on the potential venue review and study?
No, not at the moment. I think that will be a top priority for my successor, as I totally botched our last meeting, kept saying predecessor. So we'll know more in the coming weeks, I think, about that once the new position is filled.
Perfect. Anything else from anybody regarding Waldron or venues in general? All right, well,
I have a question.
Mhm.
And I know this really doesn't fall under us, but I've had a bunch of people who have asked me about the upcoming things, you know, at the auditorium, and also all the concert series. If they've done anything to put any new air filter systems or anything in place. And, you know, my answer is that's not our, you know, that's not city, but does anybody know?
I mean, it's been a big concern, right? Actors Equity, which Cardinal has to abide by, put out a pretty stunning, I think it's like a 75-page report of requirements. Obviously,
Yeah,
I think
got
that's going
that.
to be, yeah, I think that's going to be scaled back. I know the BCT is also investigating HVAC upgrades. We have been working with the Buskirk Chumley to get a consultant, an engineering consultant in there to see what is required based off of loosely what Actors Equity is requesting. I can't speak for IU. I don't know what kind of facilities upgrades they've done in the last 18 months. But it was encouraged by the Monroe County Health Department. There was a couple different baseline for gatherings about how much return vents. I think Bluebird did maybe a couple upgrades, but I'm not for certain on that. So please don't hold that against me in terms of putting that on paper. But that's a big concern for both. Nick, I don't know, have you had any conversations with promoters? And, you know, I know Bonnaroo is requiring a vaccine passport. I'm just, it's all kind of a moving target again, seems like.
No, I mean, it's radically different state by state. You know, I'm not sure. I think what I, and you know, this sort of seems like what you're hinting at, Babette, but like, I would just encourage folks to, you know, look at venue websites, you know, news feeds, things like that, and see, you know, because presumably,
Yeah, no, I
if these
do,
places
but
are,
I just
yeah.
wondered if
I'm not
anybody knows anything.
I'm not sure, honestly. Yeah.
So we should all go out and buy new hazmat suits. I bought tickets for everything. So whatever.
everything will be rescheduled once more. All right. In looking at the strategic plan, kind of detailed implementation schedule that we developed earlier in the year, I just want to touch base on how you're all feeling in regards to a few things. I'll start with social media. Essence, you did a fantastic job setting that up for us. And it's now, you know, up and going. How do you feel about it? Do you need more support? How are others receiving social media? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, I haven't been as active posting, as active as I planned at all posting. And Valeria and I, we talked after our last meeting, our last general meeting, about needing to meet up again and revamp our plans. So I was just casually thinking in my head about how to make that transition not seem so harsh, like us getting back on and getting back active. And we'll figure out a plan for that. There may be it may be useful for us to archive like that first message, so it seems more continuous once we hop back on. But I'll talk to Valeria about it. And anybody who's like actually good with social media, if you have ideas, even if you don't have the time to actually do the work, you can send me the ideas. I'm open.
Yeah, so far all I've been doing really is kind of putting stuff on stories from the different fabricators and things like that, but not creating posts themselves. Because I know you had some kind of sort of overall schedule and things, and I didn't want to mess with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just going back to what we were talking about earlier with like the public art dedications, as we're putting plans together for that, like I think we should try to, like for each dedication, we should try to come up with like a week's worth of like content, not necessarily daily, but like, we should come up with some content to either post ourselves or pass through to you Essence, sort of, a post or two in advance, sort of like teasing, even if it's just like reposting stuff from Project One or whoever, and posting renders to, making sure we have some stuff, day of or day after, and that just, if we do actually have everything go to schedule and we have something in September, then October, then November, that naturally, creates a little bit of traffic in between what other folks can come up with.
Thanks for that. Yeah.
All right, and I know, Babette, you did some work on the community hour, kind of starting to set up,
Yeah.
even if independently of when we start and if we're on Zoom or not, like the preliminary work of what needs to be covered and how it can be covered.
I think I had sent that to you before, but I'll resend it to you. But basically, I think it's there. I personally think to introduce anything new like that, while everybody is so up in the air and pretty depressed about what they're doing, is not in our best interest. So, and I was thrilled with the concept of being able to do it at the Far Gallery and, making it something in person. So I think we just have to, I would suggest looking at it again next month and seeing maybe by that time we'll have some idea of what's really going on and if it's possible to actually have a launch date.
Right. So let's do this. Just send me what you have so far, just so that I can wrap my head around it, and then to catch up with your thinking, and then we can take it from there.
Yeah.
Okay, another thing that we had there was starting to look into what public art is missing in areas of town and what we can do about it. And I know for a fact we haven't actually worked on this at this point, but it's something that we should start to focus on next as we wrap up the master plan. So I'm just planting the seed right now of, as you go around town, start to pay attention and start to think about how we can activate those areas of town that are underactivated, that need our attention, be it through, permanent or temporary public art, by performances. Everything is valid at this point in trying to activate these areas. So Sam, get on your bike and go around town, things like that. And then
I'm excited to hear that. I've noticed that little spot in front of the Waldron before and thought it seemed kind of ripe for a performance. So that's cool that I didn't know that was made for a performance.
Yeah, so it's something that we can probably activate or help activate in some way. So that's all I have there. One last thing kind of in the admin department. Sean, do we have any updates on the potential commissioners that have been applying and maybe joining?
I have, and I sent a request up to the council office and the mayor's office. So I'll double back on that. I know that Mary Catherine was on like a pretty long-term leave this summer, so I will. I'll circle back on that and have an update. So I haven't heard anything. So I know it's unfortunate because we have one that's council, one that's mayor, and when it's only one, it's kind of like at the bequest of the council schedule, and they take a hiatus in July. So I think now that they're coming back and annexation and budgets, I'll try to see where we're at with them on getting new appointments.
Okay, perfect. Any questions regarding any of this or anything else to add from anyone? Okay.
Regarding new appointments or new commissioners. I have a few friends who are interested, but they like, I guess one was you guys know, well, I don't know if I should say their name, but they just were, I saw them the other day and they're like, actually, I don't have enough time to do this. And so I was like, well, it's just one night a week, but then like there are the subcommittees and they do require some homework. But like, do we have an elevator pitch of like how much we expect from people, or?
Send them my way and I'll chat with them for half an hour or whatever is needed. And I tend to give it pretty straight.
Okay.
All right, well, if there's nothing else there, let me check the agenda. Commissioner announcements. Do we have any commissioner announcements today? Babette?
I'll just say the, what's it called? The Arts Alliance opened up a new space in the mall. And I have to say, it's really, it's impressive what they've been able to do now. And I thought it looked terrific. They are looking for, they're jurying the artists who are going in there. They're looking for potters, sculptors, anyone who's a little bit unique or different than what they have. You know, they do have some jewelry, but it's not, they would like more. So anyone who knows anybody that might be interested, it's really good. And the Bloomington Weavers also opened a space and are putting stuff in there. So I hope we'll all support it. What I think is amazing is that they're paying $350 a month in rent. And it's really quite extraordinary that Simon Properties is doing this rather than letting the spaces sit. So, you know, it's just good to get as much support as possible and to tell them all how wonderful it is that they did.
Yeah, we did give them a good shout out on social media, that one we did.
Yeah.
I was there for the opening on Saturday. They also have a classroom space, workshop performance space in the back.
Right, yeah.
That they're hoping to activate as well. Any other commissioner announcements? All right, everybody's fairly quiet. So I'd like to invite our members of the public today to say hello and share whatever they have in their minds. Kira or Chaz?
Hi, just wanted to say for the community hour, if you want to use sparse still, I bet you can. I just put in the chat our safety protocols. So like we're taking them and we have the air purification system and we can open up the glass garage door. So we do it when the weather is nice, we can be pretty safe. So if that's a concern, I think like the building is actually can like handle that and make people feel safe and everything. So if you still want to put it on, I think FAR would be a good safe place for it. And second of all, Sam's going to be doing a workshop at FAR, so shout out to Sam in September. And we're also going to do a adult watercolor workshop, and we have some kids things this August. So if you're looking for workshops for adults or kids, check out FAR. That's it from me. Thank you. And I'm in the process of moving, so don't judge my background. All right, bye.
Kira, do you?
Thank you,
wanna say hi?
Chaz. Yeah.
All right, a couple of things that came up here for me is the Cardinal Stage, what is it called? I just messed it up. Play What You Will is a wonderful program that they started as they start to emerge out of the pandemic. So that's something that you can share with your networks as in their attempt of bringing the performance arts for everybody, no matter right now what our financial status is. And also don't forget, Exhibit Columbus is coming up in the next few weeks. So that's something that you can enjoy in the great outdoors, hopefully with slightly lower temperatures in the next few weeks.
Yeah,
Sean.
one of the trades finalists is an artist. So Gia Kim and Dorian Bybee, that was the, I forgot their, Haptic K, I think is their artist name. So they have an installation. And then, yeah, I just think it's pretty important for theater groups to remove financial barriers. So I'm not trying to make an endorsement here, but please try to consider supporting Cardinal in that effort. I think that's really radical for a theater group of our community size to be doing that. I think it's going to inform other groups to participate in that way, but it also means that they just need support, right? So I think it's just a very important financial barrier that they're removing from their process. That's really, really, I think, important work. And I see Kira raised her hand. Go ahead, Kira.
Hi, yes, real quick. Just want to find out how I might be able to get a flyer approved to be posted on the Bloomington Arts Commission page. We're doing a portrait series to help with representation and diversity, inclusion, and mental wellness. And so I'm getting those flyers ready this week. And I'm just wondering who I would send that to and who might approve that type of project.
Kira, we can share from your page. So when you get it posted, just shoot me an email and I'll log into Facebook and get it reshared on the Art Commission site if that works for everybody. That's usually the best way to do it, is to share from your page. It drives more viewers, and it's better than us posting it because we don't have it's just that in terms of the algorithm that is Facebook, that's the best and preferred way to do it.
Okay, and then the last thing for anybody who's interested, I know that Arts Forward Bloomington is looking for members of the community to join their steering committee. So if anybody is interested in doing that, you can reach out to Gabe or find them on their Facebook page and just send them a message and they'll reach back to you with details. Anything else, or are we on an epic meeting that's going to end 25 minutes ahead of schedule? Sam.
I was just going to make my announcement of the same thing that Chaz said, which is that I'll be doing a thing about vinyl decals. But since Chaz is on the call right now, I need to take a picture. But this is the vinyl plotter. This is what it looks like, and these are all the colors and stuff. So that makes a bunch of stickers like that. So I'll be sharing how to do that at the workshop at the FAR on September 14th.
September 14th, cool.
It's I think it's not a free event, but you'll get to make your own stickers, decals.
Perfect. All right, well, let's go ahead and finish this meeting. It's 6:04, and I look forward to seeing you all next month, unless I see you in one of our committee meetings before then. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.